everyone. I hope the lighting is okay. It's actually morning on a Saturday and we had a lovely breakfast and everything, and my boys have gone off to do something, and that means I have a little bit of time to myself, and I thought what could be a better thing to do than just go to my studio and play around with colors. Now I decided to look at all of my turquoises and colors that I associate with turquoises. So some of them might be quite unusual for you. Maybe some of them you haven't heard of yet or haven't considered as turquoises. The classic example, I guess, would be Horizon Blue by Holbein. To me, it's like a turquoisey tone of a color, so it's not, you know, a typical or a classical understanding of a turquoise. And then Fuchsite Genuine is altogether as a mass tone, it is like a teal color, but it's got sparkles in there and things like that. So as you can see, I have a number of different brands here. And I also have a white. I will explain what that is for later. So having gone through all of my tubes, so these are tubes that I have a tube in the core set, but I wanted to show you where it came from. And then down below I have Schmincke and St. Petersburg White Nights palettes in there, which I have 2 turquoisey colors in each. So I'm gonna swatch those out for you. Let me just check on the white balance. Oops, the other way. Hopefully I can correct the lighting later on. Okay, so what shall we start with? I haven't really put them in any sort of order, but what I did want to make sure today is I use proper watercolor paper, because there is a very beautiful color that I want to show you. Let me just grab this. So this color here, it's called Ultramarine Turquoise, and it's by Daniel Smith, and it separates beautifully, but you have to use proper watercolor paper to see that effect. It's not going to do that on a lower quality paper, so I decided to go with a paper that it would do it well with. Also that it's a very affordable paper considered to some other brands. It's the Canson Aquarelle watercolor paper. It's cold pressed, so it has a little bit of grain to it, and it's a heavyweight paper, I believe 300 GSM. Yeah, so in terms of cotton or not, it doesn't say on here. Usually if it's a cotton paper the price jumps up, and it definitely would say on the thing, on the cover. So let's start with this paper, but like I said, even though it's not cotton, by the looks of it, it's a gorgeous paper. So I'm thinking whether I should just like separate them by brands or by color. Let's do brands, and then I'll just go as they are laid out there, and yeah, and then I will jump onto these ones here. So I had to pull a curtain to avoid the sun, so the sun is now on that side where the window is, so I get a bit of natural light somehow, so that's why it looks a little bit different, but I hope it's not too annoying for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to squeeze little dots of color onto the paper, and then we'll work from there. So first I've got a Mazonite Genuine. So this is one of the Primatek colors, and the small tubes don't say Primatek on them, but the larger ones have the Primatek logo on it. So I'll just move it actually so we have the Primatek together. So this is another Primatek. Primatek simply means these watercolors are made by using real stones or real rocks that are found in the earth. I don't know how to explain this, I'm not a scientist, but yeah, so they're found in the nature, and then they're ground up into very fine powder segments, and then they're combined with binders and made into watercolor. Oh, I'm struggling to open this one, Ultramarine Turquoise. seems to have dried up a little bit to the cup. So this is a stunning one. Little trick is to squeeze on the sides of the tube to make the color go back in if it's escaping too much. If it's a full tube, it won't be as easy to do, but once it's been used a little bit. So that one was Ultramarine Turquoise. Now we have Cobble Teal Blue. So there are so many different ranges of turquoise and teals. I kind of put it all into one group. Next one we have Turquoise Light, Cobalt Turquoise Light, and it's by Winsor and Newton. So these are fairly similar, these colors here. You might not notice much of a difference. Then we have Horizon Blue by Holbein. Now this is, you'll see, it will kind of stand out from the other colors, but on its own, I don't know, to me it's within the turquoises. It technically isn't probably, but I love it. Oh, that one has separated. So this is Schmincke Cobalt Turquoise. I love Schmincke's tubes. They have a longer neck, and I feel that the caps always seem to remove easier. Right, so this is a Turquoise Blue by Mission Gold. However, it's like on steroids. It's a very dark color, which is why I pulled out that white, which I wanted to show you what you could do. But we will include it because it's titled Turquoise, and I actually bought it for that reason, but then when it came it was way too intense. So let's start. So what I have here is, I'll just get a tissue ready. I need to wash my flan cloth so I can use it, because it sort of feels a little bit dusty at the minute. So I'm just gonna stick to the tissue here. Okay, so back to a Mazonite Genuine. Beautiful, gorgeous color. I'm going to try use all of it up. So we're having another warm day today. It's going to go into the 30s later in the afternoon, so things are already quite warm in the atmosphere. So things will, or watercolors will dry faster than usual. So we will be looking into things like granulation, color separation, and then, you know, we will see. I'm not going to do the transparency test, but you're most likely going to be able to see how transparent or opaque a color is on the paper. So this is Fuchsite Genuine, both by Primatek, Daniel Smith. Next two colors, actually everything is going to turn shimmery now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go wash my brush out, and also this beautiful, I don't know if you can see it, shimmery water, so that it doesn't go into other colors, and then I'll be back. Okay, I am back. I love these swatching videos, they're so therapeutic. Oh, look. So Mazonite Genuine is doing something gorgeous on this paper. I can see beautiful granulation and color separation here, which I haven't seen on other paper. So next one is Ultramarine Turquoise, another stunning color. This one can go quite intense, as you can see, and again it has a sense of granulation and color, or pigment separation rather. I will also write out the pigments. Hopefully I won't forget this promise I made now, the commitment. Yes, I will write out the pigments to see how many of them are single pigmented or a variety of pigments, which obviously when it comes to Primatek you won't have any pigment information on the tube because they are not pigments, they are made out of real stones or rocks. Okay, so let's catch up. So this one was the Cobble Teal Blue by Daniel Smith. Next to it we have Winsor and Newton Light, or Cobble Turquoise Light. Then we have the Horizon Blue by Holbein. So you can see next to all the other colors, it's milky, has a sense of opacity to it, and probably is clashing a little bit, but to me it's I don't know, I like to include it in the turquoises and teals. And then I'll try to mix the separated pigment with the binder from Schmincke, and this is the Schmincke's Cobalt Turquoise, so it's got a bit more probably blue versus green to these two. And the Daniel Smith seems to be more transparent compared to the Winsor & Newton and Schmincke. Okay, now be prepared for Turquoise Blue. That's going to be quite intense, and to me it looks very much I don't know what would be the right word, unnatural or a little bit artificial. Okay, so these are the colors. I'm going to give them a minute to dry. I'm going to title them and write down the pigments, and we'll come back and look at them while they're all sort of nice and dry. But they're starting to develop nicely. You can see the granulation coming through quite strongly here. You can see the pigment separation. Not so much pigment separation in this one, although a little bit. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so these are almost dry. So let's now also look into the remaining colors that I have. So this is a core set, this is the high chroma, and they are gorgeous. So I'm just going to take the Cobble Teal from this set. It's also very granulating. So that one is here. Actually, I'll need it for later to write down all the info. Alright, and then we have the Schmincke palette here. So what I'm going to use from Schmincke palette is this one, Helio Turquoise and Cobble Turquoise. This palette was, well, I bought it with 36 colors and 12 empties, so I have then changed things around and put, I added 12 more colors to it and created my own palette. So I'm just going to swatch them as they are in the same order so I don't get things confused. So this is another beautiful color, more on the blue side, as you can see. And then let's go into, actually this one I'm doing double, because now the Cobble Turquoise we've done in the tube, which is going to be that one, so it's the same thing, but let's see anyway. Tube versus half pan. And then I also have the White Nights. In the White Nights I also have two turquoisey colors. So one is Turquoise Blue and the other one is Azure Blue, which look fairly similar. So let's find them here. Again, this is another customized palette, which I have taken all of the cadmiums and all of the colors that were a little bit opaque, because at that time I had a thing against opaques. Now let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that must be this one. These are beautiful watercolors, super pigmented and really high quality. They are artist grade, but they are very affordable compared to some other artist grade watercolors. And for instance, compared to Mugello, you can see it's a little bit or quite a bit more interesting color. Yeah, so that's in my humble opinion. And then we have the Azure Blue, which is up here. And yeah, so the Azure Blue side by side is more blue, and the Turquoise Blue is more green. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing, title them, and write out the pigments, and then we'll look at them again. Okay, so things are looking beautiful. Unfortunately, the turquoise, ultramarine turquoise, didn't come through as I was wishing. Sorry, you have some sort of reflection here going on. But yeah, so basically looking at things, the Cobble Teal Blue seems to be most granulating by Daniel Smith. Then we have a creamier version, which is Horizon Blue, and that is because if you notice in the pigment compound there is a Pw6, so a white pigment. And what is interesting is that the pigments are exactly the same, except for here is Pb15:3 and here is Pb15, and the Pj7 is repeated and Pw6 is also repeated. So just a slightly different shade of the Pb15, which is what column 3 stands for. They're very different colors, and it is interesting how you can create two such different colors with just varying the amounts of the three pigments. So they must have put a lot less of the pigment white into the turquoise blue. So for the White Nights, I had to look up on Jackson's as it was the fastest, and then for the Schmincke I had to look up in my catalog, which I have for all their colors. So let's start with the Daniel Smith Primatek. So both of them are the first colors, a Mazonite Genuine and Fuchsite Genuine. So if I bring it up nice and close, hopefully you would be able to see the beauty. Let's see if you can see the sheen and shimmer in this color as it reflects. Yeah, I think you can see a little bit. So that's the beauty. Oops. That's the beauty of the genuine colors, where you get a little bit something quite different and unique and interesting. Obviously the pigment separation here is lovely. Then we have Ultramarine Turquoise, which has Pb29 and Pj7. So you'll see a number of pigments repeated throughout. So it would be either Pb50 for the cobalts, or it would be sort of around these numbers, Pb15 or Pb16, Pb29, and Pj7. So Pg7, sorry. Yeah. Now, ultramarine turquoise, like I said, it usually granulates, but you can see it better on this paper. It granulates as well as has a pigment separation there. So it's really, really stunning. And then we have Cobble Teal, which is a single pigment. Cobble Teal Blue, and as we said, it's most granulating by the looks of it. Let's see. And then we have Winsor & Newton Cobble Turquoise Light, also Pg50. Another Pg50 we have over here, which is Schmincke Horadam. This is from a tube, the Cobble Turquoise, and then the Cobble Turquoise from Half Pan is also single pigment Pg50. I find it interesting that from the tube it has slightly more of a greenish shade compared to the Half Pan. I don't know if you can pick it up like this. They're a little bit at a distance, but I think even on the camera, on the monitor when I'm looking now, I can see the difference. So I find that quite interesting. I checked and there's definitely just one Cobble Turquoise. There's nothing remotely similar to it in their range, so it must be the same one. And then the other Pg50 that I have is by QoR, also Cobalt, and they called it Cobalt Teal, which I think is a fabulous name for it. And it's exactly what it is. So all the cobalts have granulation, and I'd say the one that seems to be most granulating is again Daniel Smith. Also seems to be most transparent from all of them on this swatch card anyhow. It can affect, of course, depending on how much water ratio per pigment you use, but in this occasion that's what it is. And then coming back to Holbein Horizon Blue, again, if you just look at the entire color scheme, you probably would think that these two colors maybe stand out most, but it's just because they have more blue in them. And turquoises can have either greens or blues, and they still would be considered as turquoises. So yeah, so here we have Pb15 Pj7 Pw6, which we already mentioned as we compare these two colors together. And I'm not fond on this color at all because it's super staining. To me, it reminds me a lot on Phthalo Blue, and it just has this sort of very unnatural look to it, which I'm not too keen on. Also, the way it dries has this has a sense of flatness to it. I quite like having some sort of something going on. Like in these cases, we have the pigment separation, some shimmers, granulation, intensity. You know, something interesting. Whereas I find it just kind of a little bit flat, really. Then this one we have mentioned is the QoR Cobalt Teal. Schmincke Helio Turquoise, the bluest probably, apart from the Horizon Blue. The bluest turquoise, I'd say, is the Helio Turquoise, so that's the Pb16 single pigment. We also talked about the Cobble Turquoise from the half pan. So we're left with these two, which are both by, the brand is called Nevska Palitra, but traditionally they referred to as St. Petersburg White Nights. So yeah, and the colors are Turquoise Blue and Azure Blue. This one has the Pb15:3, so same pigment as used in this one, and also has Pj7 as has this one. So they're actually, in their mass tone, they're very, very similar. And I do find, though, this one is more interesting because I feel like here the color didn't behave as well. So this one is more intense. And then also they added pigment white to this one, which I can't notice. But it seems like this color would be a lot more transparent. And then the Azure Blue is Pb15, also a single pigment, which I'm trying to think. We only saw it in here in Horizon Blue Pb15, but gorgeous. The fact that they're single pigments is obviously great, which means they would mix more of a less muted color, because the more pigments you have in a color, the more when you mix them you get into this sort of muted tone. Now, what I wanted to show you is this other thing. So I'm going to squeeze out a bit of white into here and just play around and show you what you can do if, for instance, you wanted to. I'm just going to take the tiniest little bit into here and show you how you can create very beautiful opaque colors, which are milky and gorgeous. So this one is very pretty. It's more of a green looking at it. So what I may do in the next one is go into Ultramarine Turquoise and see what we can do here, because I have some color left. I'm going to try to get some of this color off, like so. And then there you go. So this is more of a teal, and it's gorgeous. I use too much white here, so if you would use a lot less white, you could still create a nice transparency to it and have that opacity as well. So just playing around. And that's the way you can also create pastels and opaque colors, and they are super beautiful when you work with them. So I'm just going to write down. So this was Mazonite Turquoise Blue plus titanium white, and this one is Daniel Smith Ultramarine Turquoise plus titanium white. So let me just dry these quickly and then I'll show you up and close. Okay, I didn't want to over dry because it then starts to buckle the paper. So here are the last two that I mixed up. And I have to say this color is so beautiful. Yeah, so use less of the white and more water, and then also mix them with your more intense turquoises to get this sort of a pastel look to them. And I think they just look so beautiful and milky. And if you're playing with watercolors and creating some sort of abstracts, it's always beautiful to work with different textures. So if you have similar color palette but changing it up and combining things makes things look always very interesting and beautiful. And that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what your favorite turquoises are from your watercolor palettes, and then we'll see each other next time. Thanks for watching.